Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our series of sessions where we talk about SanerCloud, which is SecPod's AI fortified CNAPP that we very recently launched. I am Supriya Bhaskar Rao, and I will be your presenter today, along with Mehul, who will take you through a little bit about our product in action as well. What we wanted to start off essentially this whole session would be a little bit about understanding our product and why we started it off and why, we innovated, how we did what we did, and also exactly how we see the product in action as well. Just to begin the conversation, we wanted to take you through a little bit about, the modern cloud threat landscape as well, which is let's begin with a hard truth. The cloud has fundamentally changed how we build, how we deploy, as well as run technology. But cloud security, it really hasn't kept up. And also, we feel like attackers know this on an increasing basis, on a day to day basis, in fact. And organizations today have been embracing the cloud to move faster, which is they've been shipping applications daily, spinning up new workloads within seconds, adopting multi cloud, hybrid, as well as edge architectures, all of this to meet business demand. So essentially, right now, what we have is innovation at cloud speed. But here's what most security teams are dealing with behind the scenes. One, there's absolutely no visibility into what's being spun up into the cloud and by who. Second, there's no control over how it's being configured, exposed, or protected. Three, there, I think these days there's way too many tools in the market, all of them offering a partial view each without really a unified understanding of risk. But also, the worst of all is there's no real way to remediate fast enough, which leaves a lot of dangerous gaps as well. So, today we'd like to understand all of those just a little bit in detail as well. And also the fact that this is exactly why the cloud is becoming the most exploitable surface in the modern enterprise IT. For instance, take Capital One's breach, one misconfigured web application firewall, which led to over 100 million customer records being stolen, or even the more recent, say, the Uber cloud attack, where attackers used hard coded credentials in a script to move laterally along cloud services as well. Now, these aren't just one offs, they're symptoms of a much larger breakdown in how we secure the cloud itself. Let me give you a few quick data points. According to the Cloud Security Alliance, 92% of organizations experienced a cloud security incident over the past 12 months. Over 82% of all breaches now involve data stored in the cloud. And also, the average cloud breach costs around $4.5 to $5 million and also often goes undetected for weeks. What exactly is causing these incidents, you might ask? The first would be misconfigurations, of course, which is by far the number one root cause. The next would be unpatched workloads. There would also be over-permissioned identities, and also that would lead to a lack of real-time visibility as well. But here's a real kicker. Despite the maturity of the cloud ecosystem in itself, most organizations are still using tools that were not really built for the cloud. Or they're cobbling together a lot of tools, multiple tools that barely talk to each other, that barely communicate with each other as well. Now, these legacy tools, whether they're traditional vulnerability scanners, or siloed CSPM platforms, or just passive CNAPPs as well, they weren't really designed to handle the speed and the complexity of cloud native infrastructure, which is exactly what is needed is a fundamentally different approach, one that's, say, preventive, it's unified, it's continuous, and also it's fast enough to match the cloud velocity itself. And that's exactly where our conversation is going to go today, because that's also where Saner Cloud comes into the picture. Over the next few minutes, I'll walk you through what's broken in cloud security today and then show you how Saner Cloud is solving that very problem with a truly unified platform. And then my colleague Mehul will come in and take you through exactly how we are solving these problems as well. Let's dig in for a bit. What is broken in cloud security today is today's security stack is fundamentally broken. And let's see exactly how. So, first, security teams are burdened by a fragmented ecosystem of tools. One product monitors misconfigurations, another handles vulnerability scans, and even a third tool looks at, say, IAM. And none of them speak the same language as well. Nobody provides a unified risk picture. This fragmentation often leads to a lot of security gaps, and attackers thrive in those gaps. Second, detection is consistently delayed. The cloud changes constantly, assets spin up and down by the minute. But most security tools operate on static snapshots or delayed polling intervals. Misconfigurations can sit unnoticed for hours at a stretch. Vulnerable packages can also run in production before anyone even gets to know about them. And by the time an alert is raised, it's very often too late. And third, but also the most critical, is most tools just stop at alerting you. They'll flag a risk, maybe assign a severity score, but they'll leave the rest up to you. Security teams have to raise tickets, they have to chase DevOps teams, and they have to wait for remediation to happen. In the meantime, the exposure remains absolutely wide open, which is not sustainable, neither is it secure. Fourth, there's also extremely limited visibility, and tools that claim to be cloud native often ignore the workload layer itself. They don't inspect packages, they don't inspect runtime behavior, or even active binaries. They miss container level vulnerabilities and dangerous IAM privilege escalations as well. That means attackers can easily hide in the blind spots. But also, finally, many organizations just confuse compliance with security. You can pass every CIS benchmark, but also still be exposed to the real world threats. Checklists don't really detect active exploitation, and also they do not prioritize based on real attack paths. They certainly don't remediate anything. Compliance might help with audits, but it doesn't stop breaches at all. So, in summary, cloud security today is reactive, it is fragmented, as in it is piecemeal, and also it's incomplete. There is a better way, and that's exactly what we are here to deliver today as well. Moving forward, just to introduce Saner Cloud a little bit, Saner Cloud, it's a product that is essentially a game changer, and let's talk a little bit about how. It's our answer to what's broken in cloud security today. It's a modern CNAPP, which is a cloud native application protection platform, but one that just doesn't tick boxes, it also prevents breaches. And that's the difference. At its core, Saner Cloud is a prevention first platform. While traditional tools look for symptoms like alerts and anomalies, we actually go after the root causes as well. We find misconfigurations, vulnerabilities, as well as exposure before any attacker does. And then we fix them also extremely fast. What makes Sena Cloud different is unification. We bring together posture management, vulnerability management, misconfiguration detection, compliance monitoring, threat detection, and remediation all into a single integrated product. With Sena Cloud, you needn't juggle multiple tools like four or five tools. You don't really need to wait for tickets to be resolved as well. With Sena Cloud, you can see the issue, you can understand the risk, and you can remediate, and all at one place. So the design here adapts to the speed of the cloud. For example, assets may come and go, they may fluctuate in value, configurations might drift, environments might change, but Sena Cloud continuously adapts to this. It continuously scans, it adapts, and it delivers real time visibility across workloads, packages, policies, as well as permissions. Also, finally, it's about outcomes, not just noise. So we've noticed that there's a lot of tools that flood you with alerts and the constant alerts, right? We don't flood your dashboards with low priority findings. We already prioritize based on exploitability, business impact, but also context. So you can focus on what exactly matters and what actually matters. That's the difference between detection and protection. Our promise is simple. You'll reduce your cloud, your risk exposure. you'll gain full cloud visibility and achieve continuous compliance, and all of this from day one. Moving forward, now that you know just a little bit about Sena Cloud as well, we'd like to take you through a vision behind Sena Cloud and why we started what we started as well. Let's talk about our core belief, for instance, which is the philosophy that drives Sena Cloud. For us, we believe, like I said, security today is reactive. And the majority of cloud security today, tools today, rely on detect and respond models. They wait for a suspicious pattern, trigger an alert, and then it's a race. It's a race to contain, it's a race to patch, it's a race to investigate. This is not just slow, it's also dangerous. Why? Because by the time a breach is detected, it may already be in progress. And that is the reality of modern cloud attacks. They're fast, they're automated, and they're also opportunistic. And your window to stop them is shrinking by the day. We believe very firmly that this model is actually flawed. So Sano Cloud doesn't just wait to detect, we also prevent. We focus on what attackers are actually looking for on a day-to-day or a minute-to-minute basis, in fact, which is exposed workloads, it's misconfigured cloud assets, it's unpatched vulnerabilities, it's excessive permissions, and it's also gaps in compliance. And also, what we're looking at is to close every single one of these gaps before the threat actor even arrives in the first place. This approach is what we are calling a pre breach control. It combines three critical elements at the end of the day. One's posture management, where we're looking at ensuring that everything in your cloud is configured correctly and securely. Second is attack surface reduction, where you strip away unused services, over permissioned identities, and vulnerable workloads. The third would be automated remediation, and this is something that we will take you through in detail in just a bit, where we are saying don't just know the problem, fix it. Also, immediately fix it across all of your cloud automatically. This is also where most security platforms stop short. They end here. They'll show you a list. But we are here to tell you that we go further. We also go ahead and act. This sort of mindset, which is to stop breaches before they even happen, is what makes Sano Cloud different from the rest of the CNAPP market. Because we believe that security does not have to be reactive anymore. It can be real, it could be continuous, but most importantly, it should be preventive. Now that you know the vision for Sena Cloud, we want to take a minute of your time to let you know what exactly we think makes Sena Cloud unique in this particular market. Now, we understand that this market is crowded with CNAPPs that are promising you a lot of things, that say that they do a lot of things as well. But here is what is proven with Sena Cloud, and you will see it in action in the next few minutes as well, which is there are many players in the cloud security space. Let's analyze just a little bit of that. Extremely few that can claim to be truly unified, that could be preventive and capable of taking real action as well. First, let's start about what most customers struggle with even after deploying popular CNAPP or CSPM tools. You get alerts, you get dashboards, but you still have siloed views. Identity separate from workload, configuration separate from threat detection, and almost no remediation, which means that you're continuously responding and not proactively. Does that sound familiar? Now, when you take that, you'll also see how Sena Cloud flips this model. We don't just surface issues, we also actively fix them. Misconfigurations, we auto remediate. Vulnerabilities in workload, we patch them, again, automatically. A posture anomaly detection is also a unique capability, and people who have used our product, Saner CVEM, before will already know that. So while others compare configs to benchmarks, we go just a little bit deeper, and we go ahead and track drift from your known good baseline to spot unusual changes that could be risk vectors as well. Then there's our deep workload protection. Unlike many tools that can scan static configurations, we also look inside workloads, protect running processes, and offer true cloud workload protection, not just surface level scans. We combine our coverage. Why? Because there are a lot of gaps in security as well, such as say dynamic or ephemeral workloads, like we call them, or even internal behavioral monitoring. So Saner Cloud gives you layered visibility without forcing a trade-off in any case. And also, perhaps the most strategic differentiator is, as in what sets Saner Cloud apart from everybody else, is a prevention first, exploit based risk prioritization. We don't just rank issues based on your theoretical severity, we only rank them based on real world exploitability, as well as attacker behavior and your own unique environment. So it goes from a case to case basis because it is clearly not one size fits all, which means that your teams aren't wasting time chasing noise. They're out there fixing the things that could actually lead to compromise. Now, all of this comes down from a single, fully integrated platform. They're not stitched together tools that are just working side by side at the same time. They're not siloed dashboard. We have a single console with just one objective, which is shut the doors before the attackers knock. Now that we've taken you through all of what makes Sena Cloud unique, I would like to take a couple of minutes to go ahead and introduce our next speaker of the day. His name is Mehul, and he leads our product. He has actually been instrumental in building Sena Cloud from scratch. So I could think of nobody better than Mehul today to take you through exactly what our differentiators are and how our product looks and how it does what it does. Over to you, Mehul.
Thank you, Supriya. I hope I am audible.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, let me just share my screen. Yeah, thank you again, Supriya, for the introduction. Thank you, everybody, for joining this call on SecPods in our cloud enablement. As you know, at Saner, it's all about proactiveness and prevention because we believe firmly that prevention is way better than a reactive approach. Wherein a reactive approach, you respond to incidents that has already occurred. It might have damaged your uh, cloud infrastructure or even the reputation of the company in some cases. In reactive approach, you end up doing damage control and you spend too much time and money recovering the assets and recovering the reputation. It is more like digging a well when the fire has already spread. Instead of reactive, we believe in preventive approach where security policies are already in place, risk assessments are done regularly, employees are trained on regular basis, regular audits are done, and basically there is a general awareness about the cloud security in your organization. And like I said, Senar is all about proactiveness, and for the same reason, we have kept the same approach for cloud security as well. Now, before we get into the actual demo, let's talk about what are the critical challenges in cloud security product that we face and what we are trying to solve here. So I hope my screen is visible and my slide is front. So while talking about the challenges of cloud security, the first one that comes into our mind is the fragmented security system ecosystem that our competitor provides. So one product could give you a visibility to your cloud resources. Another can find the misconfigurations. Some can find the anomalies in your cloud infrastructure. And mostly nobody is talking about the remediation. So at Sena Cloud, we provide you out of the box experience of all these modules and all these features bundled within the same product. And since nobody's talking about the remediation gaps, there are risks that keep getting mounted because none of them are talking about remediation. And since there is no remediation, misconfigurations and anomaly always remain in your cloud infrastructure. Possibly that is because the lack of intelligence in the engineers who are building those products who may not know the in and out of cloud security and even cloud infrastructure. And at Saner, we have such engineers which are skillful and who have written automation scripts for remediating the anomalies and misconfigurations in your cloud infrastructure. One more challenge that we face that many of the company are following the reactive approach where you run after um, fixing things once it is already been broken. But in Saner, we go with the proactive approach and not the reactive approach. So in order to handle these challenges of cloud security, we have come up with many functionalities, or you can call modules, or you can even call them application on their own, uh, which which are like cloud security asset exposure. We call it CSA, which provides the visibility to your organization resources. It gives you heat maps of services, their geolocations, and user can even create watch lists to keep an eye on their uh, favorite resources, and also the cost estimation chart to know how much cost your resources are putting and what will be the estimated cost of this month. And then we have CSPA, which is the Cloud Security Posture Anomaly module, or Cloud Security Posture Anomaly application, which uses data science to identify anomalies or outliers in your resource groups. For example, if in your cloud organization you are creating an EC2 instance of certain type most of the time, and suddenly you see a different kind of EC2 instance spawn um, in your cloud infrastructure, and we detect that as an anomaly so that you can go ahead and check what is the root cause and fix it. Then we have CSPM, which is all about complying to benchmark rules. And with this, user can find misconfigurations in their cloud infrastructure or cloud resources. Also, they can detect when the first time the CSPM misconfiguration was detected, and they can dig deep into identifying the evidence of why we are um, calling particular configuration as a misconfiguration as part of CSPM detection. Then we have CIEM, which is uh, the entitlement management tool, which visualizes the IAM or intra entities, and it checks excessive roles and users or unused policies or empty group, etc. And then we have CWPP, because one thing that organizations struggle to visualize is the applications that are running within their instances or their virtual machines in case of Azure. So with CWPP, we provide an entire suite of tools to check and fix vulnerabilities within that particular application or within that operating system. And then finally, we have CSRM, which is our remediation management tool. Uh, so we've been talking about the issues that can be identified by the products above. But now to resolve all these issues in your cloud infrastructure, we provide a true remediation to fix with one click. And then we also have on top of that Gen AI capabilities. So we have AI capabilities with AI running as prioritization in workload management, and the Gen AI to which you can ask questions about, say, in a cloud and your infrastructure, and also in on our intelligence feeds as well. So with that, now let me get back to the demo. So, if you're already familiar with CVEM, you would be knowing that we have a section called endpoint servers and networks, which shows the accounts created, uh, including your, which includes your devices, servers, your network devices, and you find vulnerabilities and misconfigurations in that particular resource. Along with that, we have introduced a cloud infrastructure section, which in which you can create accounts based on your cloud service provider, for example, AWS and Azure, and you will be able to see all the resources. You will be able to see all the misconfigurations, and you'll be able to actually remediate those misconfigurations through these accounts that you create in Saner Cloud. Just let me log back in. Yeah, sorry for that. So let's go to our unified dashboard. So if you're using multiple cloud service providers, for example, AWS and Azure, you can always go to our unified dashboard to see the totality of the resources that are there. So you'll be able to see the total resources which are there in AWS and Azure combined. Also, you can see the publicly accessible resources of AWS and Azure and what is the increment or decrement compared to last month in that. Also, you can see the monthly costs that is associated with your resources or your cloud service providers. And also you can see the risk which has been marked as high, which you would like to go and remediate. Also, we show the resource categorizations into different categories. For example, compute, network, security, and storage. You'll be able to see the geolocation of your active resources wherever you have spawned it. And this particular section is for the compliances and benchmark, the CSPM module that I'll talk about in a little while. Here you'll be able to see the total findings of the benchmark misconfiguration. This is combination again of AWS and Azure both. You can see the compliance status and also you can see based on the severity. So here you'll be able to see that we have segregated based on AWS and Azure. So by looking at this, you can see that we have total 131 compliance configurations, out of which 61 are in AWS and 70 are in Azure. The next section you see is your about your entities, like your users and groups and roles in your AWS, and also applications and RBAC roles in your Azure infrastructure. This section is for our CSPA, Cloud Secure Posture Anomaly. And you can see we have categorized that also into AWS and Azure. Also, you'll be able to see the trend of the total anomaly count. Uh, you can keep an eye on this and see if there is any spike or any dip in that, and you can have a look. You can decide what to do about that. Also, we have a patch distribution, which is for CSRM, where you do the remediation of your misconfigurations and anomaly. So you can see we have shown the segregation of the patch count in AWS and Azure as well, depending on the module which has identified that. Also, you see the total recommendation patches after running, which you'll be able to resolve many of your misconfiguration or misanomaly issues. So, as I mentioned, this is a combined dashboard. We call it a unified dashboard or infra dashboard. But in order to see the data here, you have to um, onboard your cloud account, for example, your AWS or Azure account. So we can do that as part of our onboarding, which is again, if you would have seen the CVEM product, you would know how to navigate to this one. So here you can see that for AWS Cloud Formation, we are providing three different ways to automate a user. So one is by onboarding automatically, where you keep your Azure or your AWS account logged in, like how I have done it here with admin privileges. And then you can simply go to your onboarding section and you select the region to which you would like to see the data of as part of your scanning, and you just click on automate onboarding, and that will open up a new page where you can create your role and users to provide us permission for onboarding and then scanning further. If you don't want to go with your automated way of creating a cloud formation for AWS, you can always go and select AWS role manual, where you'll have to create a role to provide us permission, and that you can do by following the guidelines provided there in this documentation, which you can download. The simplest way would be to follow this document and get us the cloud account ID or AWS access key and also your secret key. By putting simply that and clicking on onboard, you'll be able to onboard. Also, onboarding Azure account is also pretty simple. You will get the onboarding scripts as well as guideline on how to onboard to get all these details. So once you have onboarded and once you have scanned, you will see something like this, which is an already onboarded AWS account, which I am using for the demo purpose here. So as you can see, it gives you a dashboard which shows or which gives you an overview of all the other modules or the data which is there in all the other modules. For example, CSAE, CSPM, CIEM, and CSPA, along with CSRM. And as I mentioned, everything on this dashboard or all the dashboard is clickable. You can click on any of these section and you'll see your resources filtered with that particular category. So since I clicked on S3 buckets, you are able to see the service type as S3, where those are located as in region. Are those publicly accessible or not? Resource name and resource ID. When you click on a resource ID, you can see more details about that. We've also given you a JSON download in case if you want to configure it on your cloud infrastructure. Going back to the dashboard, let me go through each of this module one by one. Let's start with CSA. So as you know that visibility is the key. to know what you are trying to secure. So remediation can be done on the random things, but unless and until you know what resources are there in your infrastructure, it's of no use. So being on top of the cloud infrastructure is almost always a priority for any of the admin or any of the user. So here in CSA, you can see that we have distributed the resources based on the service type like S3 and EC2. We also show the resource distribution based on the resource type. And you can see there are total 342 total resources in my AWS demo account that I have created. Also, you can see the active resources based on the geolocations. For example, we in Oregon, we have around 32 total resources. And as I mentioned, clicking on uh, any of the UI element, you'll be able to see that particular thing filtered. So since I have clicked on the geolocation, US West 2, you can see region name as US West 2, and you can see all the details of your cloud infrastructure resources. Again, here we have categorized based on the resource type, which is like compute and storage containers, etc. In all resources, we have introduced a publicly accessible section so that you can be aware of which of your resource is publicly accessible. And since it is not recommended, you can take any of the action that you want. By clicking on publicly accessible icon, you'll be able to see the reason why we have deemed that particular uh, resource as a publicly available resource. You can consider that as an evidence to why we have deemed it as such. Also, you see the resource type and resource service trend over time and total resource over time. So if you see a spike or a dip, it is something to be alarmed of, and you can go ahead and check why the change has happened in your cloud infrastructure. We also show the cost and usage graph, and we also give a breakdown. We also show the current month estimated grand total. So user can mouse over any of this column and they can see the distribution of the amount that they are spending on their resources, and they can see which section is costing you more. So in our case, Amazon Redshift is costing somewhere around $73 this month. There's one more section called outdated resources. So you know that AWS and Azure recommend certain resources to be used and certain resources are deprecated in their eyes. So we keep track of that. And if there are any resources like that in your cloud infrastructure, we show it up in your dashboard directly so that you can take a call whether to uh, remove that resource from your cloud infrastructure or maybe upgrade that. We also show a watch list of resources. This is in case if you are an admin and you want to keep an eye on the resources that are getting created in your particular region. For example, we can also create our own watch list. Go to watch list section, create watch list. Let me create an S3 bucket in US West 2. Here we select S3 as a service type, and then we select US West 2 as the region. We give a description, and we can select whether we want to create this watch list on the current data set that we have, or do you want to create it on the next cloud scan. You simply click on add to watch list. So the watch list has been added. You go to CSA dashboard again, and along with EC2 instances, now you will be able to see the S3 buckets which are there in your US West 2 region. So this is CSAE for you. Now let's move on to the next module, which is CSPA. So this is a unique feature that analyzes the data set of resource using algorithms that we have created in-house. And this particular module finds the outliers in your cloud infrastructure. By outlier, we mean that something which is getting deviated from the regular practices. For example, creating a resource. If you are not creating a resource since last few months and suddenly something gets spawned up, that is also misconfiguration or an anomaly that we detect. So here also we have segregated, or we have uh, distributed the anomalies based on the severity, for example, high and low confidence. Also, we have posture anomaly density to see which kind of anomaly is affecting most of your resources. In posture anomaly radar, we can see that management and governance is having most of the resources. So this gives the user an edge to see which section that they should be more worried about. If you go down, you can see the posture anomaly details, and you can see the fields or the rules that we have created in-house to identify this anomalies. Clicking on any of this anomaly, you can see the summary of what this anomaly talks about. It will give you a crisp highlight. If you want more information, you can mouse over to this question icon. And you can also see the resources, or in our case, this is the source IP and users and region where they are. You can go ahead and see the anomaly status, and you can find out which how many resources are non-anomalous and how many are anomalous resources. We also give you anomaly trend over time to see if what is the health of your organization's cloud infrastructure. Let's get back to CSPA. So I already mentioned about the trend over time, and you can also see the anomalies based on the region where you have spawned your cloud infrastructure. Let me show you some of the examples of this anomaly. So if you can go to all anomalies, you can find out few of the easy to understand anomalies. For example, in this case, this talks about the IAM user, which has active passwords, but the MFA or the multi-factor authentication is not enabled for these resources. So details you can get here, you can get the user IDs for which the MFA is not enabled. You can see, since it's an IAM resource, it's showing region as global. And you can see password is true, but the MFA is not enabled. You can also see the distribution of anomaly status, as I showed before, and also the trend over time. Let's take example of one more anomaly to give you a better understanding. So this particular anomaly talks about the unusual type of instances. So like I said, if you are creating certain type of instance most of the time, and suddenly an outdated resource gets created, in this case, this particular EC2 instance is having instance type as M1 small. So you can consider that as an anomaly, and that's why we have shown it as one particular resource is anomalous. Let's move on to our next module, which is CSPM. So this is where we use compliances to identify misconfigurations in your cloud infrastructure. So we support benchmarks like CIS, NIST, HIPAA, and all the other benchmarks. And we have also created our in-house SecPod default benchmark, which is for global and regional resources, which you can say is a superset of all the other benchmarks. And also you can say it's best of all the worlds. So in this CSPM dashboard also, you can see the spider chart, which shows you the misconfiguration region-wise. Here you can see that US West 2 is having misconfiguration around 42, because that is where most of our resources are spawned. You can also see findings based on the on the severity. Here you can see 74 count or count of issues are critical, and 92 are high, and so on. Also, you'll be able to see the publicly available resources, which has count around 9. Clicking on that, again, it will take you to a filtered table where you can see all the details about that particular uh, resources. You can click on the rule that has identified that this one as particular as publicly accessible resource. You can click on the resource ID and it will give you more details. So as I mentioned, all the UI elements are clickable and you can find more information about a particular misconfiguration or resource just by clicking on it. Also, we show you the uh, findings based on the service type. In this case, S3 bucket is having most of the misconfigurations, followed by IAM, and then CloudTrail, and then your cloud front. We also show the date-wise affected resource trend over time. So we can say that on particular this particular date, on 28th of 2025, there were around 409 affected resources, which was down to 389 after we ran remediation patches and so on and so forth. These are the benchmarks, which benchmark section, which contains a few of the default benchmarks and also the custom benchmarks that we have created. So, in order to give you a better understanding, let me show you how we have created the particular benchmark. So let's go back to dashboard. Let's go to benchmark. Let us create a new benchmark. Let's name it, or let's select NIST as a benchmark set. We will say both region and global resources, and we will run this benchmark only for the US West 2 region as of now. You can run it for the multiple regions as well. Click on next. You select which rules you want to set or to be scanned against in that particular for this particular benchmark. So let me select few. So I'm selecting these benchmarks just because they are easy to understand. Let's click on next. Let's give the benchmark a name. Say NIST West 2. And we have selected region as global and US West 2. We don't want to run it on all the account. We will be just running in this particular account, and then we say create a benchmark. So as you can see, the NIST West 2 benchmark has been created, but it's not been evaluated yet. So let's run it and then refresh the page. Right. So you can see how quick that was, right? And NIST West 2 has identified uh, 49 failed compliance statistic. So that means this particular benchmark has found misconfigurations in 49 resources. So this is how the benchmark works. And you can always go ahead and remediate those particular misconfigurations. One thing I missed to show is our Gen AI capabilities. So we've been showing you so many dashboards and so much data, but if you are not able to make sense of any particular thing, you can always turn to our Gen AI. And for every dashboard and every chart, we have given you a AI button or AI assistance button by clicking on which you will be able to see uh, three crisp bullet points which summarizes that particular section. So here you can see that it shows 22.52 out of total are critical findings, 52% are medium findings, and 80% are high and medium findings. If you analyze this data, it shows you that Oregon or US West 2 has the highest number of issues. Ohio Ohio has the lowest number of issues. So this is the best example of how we have used our Gen AI capabilities to make things easier for our customers. So this is all about CSPM. Let us move to the next module, which is CIEM. So now, identity management is a very important aspect of cloud security because identities are the most important entities in cloud infrastructure that showcases user groups, policies, etc. in case of AWS and application RBAC roles, etc. in Azure. So here, if you see in our CIEM module, we show you the users which have been assigned with excessive permissions, users that are inactive, groups that has been assigned excessive permission, groups that are empty, policies which are unused, and roles which are inactive as well, or some of the roles which are having the highest number of assigned permissions. You can click on any of that UI element, and you'll be able to see the charts which shows you why that particular uh, element has been identified as uh, having excessive permissions or is not being used so far. Let me go back to the dashboard, show you one group. So you can see this particular group has been created, but it is not having any users or it is not assigned to any of the users, or there are no inline policies, there are no policies, even there are no high privilege policies assigned to that. So that shows it is an empty group. Similarly, we have categorized policies based on uh, some other misconfigurations, for example, broad policies. So these policies are considered as broad policies because if you go and see the evidence, you can see the document statement resource has been given star, which is a wildcard, which shows all the access. You can also see critical activities which are done by the user in your cloud infrastructure. Um, Somebody has deleted a role or there was a console login. So all this information you'll be able to see as part of your critical activity. You can always click on evidence and you can see more details about that. You can also see the recommended remediation, which is provided as part of our CSRM module. You can select any of these particular rule which is identified. For example, this finding identifies an IAM custom policy document that is not currently attached to any IAM user or group. So you can anytime go ahead and click on the remediation button, select the resources, and then you can run the remediation by selecting next step and adding details if required. So we'll come back to this one when we go to our remediation module, which is CSRM, but this is all for CIEM. Let us go to the final module, which is CSRM. So now we have talked about how to find issues and anomalies and misconfigurations in your cloud infrastructure, right? So now let's talk about how to uh, patch them or to remediate them. So remediation is not only through workloads, but it could also be automated. So in this section, you will be able to see the segregation of your patches based on which module has identified that particular misconfiguration anomaly. For example, for CSPM, we have 20 patches. For CSPA, we have 9 patches. And For CIEM also, we have around 9 patches. Also, the patches are categorized based on the service type. So most of the patches will uh, fix your IAM resources and then followed by RDS and then followed by your EC2 instances. Also, we show the patch distribution based on your geolocation. This gives you an idea that if you run this particular patches, which region will be fixed. We also show you the top 10 missing patches for CSPM, CIEM, CSPA. You can again go ahead and click on any of the remediation rules, and you will be taken to the resource selection page where you can select the resource and then you can remediate the misconfigurations in that particular resource. We also show you the patch aging graph and patch impact graph. Patch aging is nothing but for how many days the patch has not been applied. This is very important because you would want to patch your misconfigurations or anomalies as soon as possible because the longer it stays in your cloud infrastructure, the riskier it becomes. Also, we show the patching impact. For example, if you run 3 of CSRM patches, that will reduce the rule count by 5. So when I say rule count, a single rule can also be associated with multiple resources. So here we can say that just by running 3 patches, you will be able to remediate many of the cloud resources or misconfigurations in your cloud resources. Now let me show you how we run the remediation. So like I said, remediation is not only through workloads, but it could also be automated. So let's go to CSPM. It will show you all the remediation patches that we have available for our CSPM modules. We have predefined, custom, and all. So in predefined, we show you the patches which does not require any human intervention. In custom, you may want to enter some values. For example, if you want to set password length, so that requires an input from the customer. So that you'll have to specify. So that's why it has been put into the custom tab. And then you have all, which is combination of predefined and custom. So you come here, you select a patch. For example, this one remediates the Amazon EC2 instance with unusual instance type. So one of our CSPM rule has identified that one of the EC2 instance is having unusual type, which was m1.small. So you select the remediation patch, you apply the selected patch, it will show you the resources which is affected by that particular misconfiguration. So here we have this many instances. You select the instance that you want to remediate. You click on next step. It will give you a recommended predefined template. So what this will do is it will terminate that particular instance because uh, it's not recommended to keep it running since it's unusual and AWS has deemed that as a deprecated resource. Next step would be to give a name to that particular remediation and then description. So we tend to give it a meaningful name just so that when you go and see the status of it, it makes sense that what you have run. You can run it immediately or you can select a particular date on which you can run that. So in our case, we'll select immediate. You click on next step. It will give you the summary of what you have selected so far. So for example, in this case, you are remediating this particular CSPM issue. One resource you have selected in US West 2 region. You, if you are an admin user, you can give a consent and then you can directly start on click create task. This will go ahead and remediate this particular resource. So when I say remediate, in this case, what it will do is it will terminate that particular resource because that is the template that you have selected. So the remediation is pretty easy. You can even automate your remediations. For example, you have to go through the same process and then you can select whether you want to get notified whenever that remediation patch has run or not. You can give it a task name, and then you can create an automation, and then you can schedule it to be run after the scan is completed, or you can schedule it daily, weekly, or even monthly. Once you have set the remediation automation, you don't have to worry. Whenever next scan happens, and if the scan identifies any misconfiguration that you have selected for remediation, it will auto remediate. So this is an auto patching option that we provide you as part of your CSRM module, which is for cloud security remediation management. So that's all module we have. We have other sections. For example, we have a list of cloud resources, which will show you all the resources in your cloud infrastructure. It will also show you the publicly accessible resources which are there. If you have created any watch list, so it will show you the watch listed resources. If you have any outdated resources in your infrastructure, for example, in our infrastructure for demo purpose, we have created many, so it is showing that. We also have cloud reports where you can go ahead and generate beautiful reports which you would like to show for audit purposes. For example, let me just select cloud posted anomaly report. And just by simple few clicks, it will show you a beautiful report which is ready to be downloaded and then can be sent through a mail to your peers or superiors. We also have cloud alerts, which gives you an option to get notified in case of any of this particular activity happens. In case if there is any newly created resource in your cloud infrastructure, or even if an outdated resource is created. So this is as part of CSAE for patch management. You can create alerts based on your custom checks or your critical or high severity checks. So whenever there is a misconfiguration identified in that section, you will get notified on the email ID that you specify here. So we have many such alerts. Along with that, we also have audit logs, which gives you the details of what activity has been run on your um, Saner Cloud. For example, there were logged in, we have saved watch list in S3 bucket in for US West 2. We have deleted watch list configuration. That this is the one that I did previously. And cloud security scan we have done completed, I mean, successfully. So this, I think you will be familiar if you are already familiar with CVEM. So far I've been showing you the demo on our AWS account, but we also support Azure. So if you have an subscription to Azure environment, you can also onboard your Azure uh, cloud service, and then you can see the same structure that I showed for AWS for Azure as well. One more interesting feature that we have is the cloud workload. So cloud workload gives you an option to scan for the vulnerabilities in within your cloud instances or your cloud virtual machines in case of Azure. So here you can see we have created four Ubuntu 24.4 virtual machines in our AWS environment, and we are successfully able to see the vulnerabilities and scan for the vulnerabilities in the operating system as well as the applications which are running in that particular virtual machine. And then you can take any action that you can with CVEM. You can also go ahead and remediate those particular misconfigurations. One more thing I would like to show is our Saner Plasma AI, to which you can ask any question about Saner. For example, you can go ahead and understand the Saner by finding things from our documentation. If you click on the Learn section, you can also discover within your organization. For example, if you want to see how many patches are available for CVEM, or what is the highest misconfigured region for as part of CSPM, you can ask our Gen AI and it will give you an information on that. Also, you can search in our homegrown intelligence, um, which are the feeds that we have created to identify misconfigurations and anomaly. So if you have question about any of a particular um, rule, you can go ahead and click on our homegrown intelligence discovery module. So let me just show you an example and ask a question. For example, what is CSA? Seems like we have some patching going on. But I hope you get an idea of how to operate that. Let me go back to the dashboard again. Yeah, so this is all I had, Supriya, as part of our Saner cloud.
Thank you so much, Mehul. Thank you for taking the time out today to explain everything in detail to our audiences attending. We have a question by Rafael. So he asks, are these modules available for Azure? And if so, what's the subscription metric? Um, Rafael, yes, these modules are available for Azure. And about the subscription metric, we will get back to you in a lengthy, detailed mail as well, because of course you might have certain requirements, so we will reach out to you ASAP. But thank you all for taking the time out to attend this session today. I just wanted to let you know that if anybody requires any information, you can reach out to any of us. I am Supriya Bhaskar Rao, your presenter for today. And also, please visit our website because we have all of the information that we presented today explained to you module by module on our website as well. Plus, we have downloadable resources for you to be able to understand the functionalities and the capabilities, plus also the differentiating factors of our modules and what set Sena Cloud apart. We will be happy to help anybody that requires a demo. If you could just schedule a demo or book a call with us. And also, if you have any other questions about the product itself, please make sure to keep visiting our SecPod community, where we discuss all of these in a forum regularly as well. Thank you all and have a good day.